Today's episode, we have Collin from Collin the Necromaker.
Hello.
If you guys don't know who Collin is, I'm quite surprised, especially if you're listening to this podcast, because Collin is one of, if not the best costume designer in the fantasy world, in the fantasy realm. I would also say for more time period accurate pieces, because the level of detail this man puts into all of his work and his creations is truly next level. And we are so lucky at Whimsy Gossip that Collin is so kind and so nice and has helped outfit, what did we say? It was
11. Well, 10 people, one person had 2 looks.
Yeah, 11 different costumes for our fan films, which is wild.
Yes.
Absolutely wild. So for everyone that's seen our Bat Boys and their iconic outfits, that's Collin. And you have not seen Chapter 65 yet. So you haven't, well, you might have seen like clips and I guess some stills, but Collin actually dressed Valerie and I. And actually also he dressed Valerie as well, the armor in Chapter 70. So technically, is it 12? Because Val had 2 looks and so did Corey Asriel.
So it technically would be 13 then, if we count Asriel's second look and Moore's other look.
Then 13 different costumes.
13
which is
different costumes.
Wild.
And well, technically 14 if you're really getting specific when I came in for my one spear throw.
Oh, for Kalias. That's right. 14. So 14 different costumed looks
throughout
this
2
is
of
wild.
our fan films.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because all Collin's work, and we'll go into this a little bit more in detail, is like genuine leather. And it's like he doesn't buy stuff off of Amazon like myself.
Yep. No Amazon pieces
no,
here.
They're handmade and handcrafted. So anyway, Collin, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more,
tell everyone,
because I'll just end up fangirling and
like
rambling.
Who are you? How did you get started doing this in the first place? And then 2, how did you get involved with the book world?
For sure. So my name's Collin. All my handles are the Necromaker. The reason I chose that name is dark fantasy is my favorite like type of fantasy. Think like Berserk. That's like my favorite type of fantasy. But then the reason I chose that name is because Necromancer is someone who brings the dead to life, right? But I chose Necromaker because I bring your ideas to life.
I love that.
In any way I can. So that's just the whole goal of the Necromaker is to help anyone who's out there bring and realize their dreams and their goals. So
and you do that so well.
That's why I chose that name. Yeah, thanks. But my day job, this is not my full-time job. I wish it was, but my day job is I'm a risk analyst. So I literally sit at a computer, and then by night I'm a costume designer. So I do a complete 180 and design costumes and fabricate them.
And then hopefully this will be your full-time job one day. That would be ideal.
Yeah, that's my goal. Is I would love it to be my full-time job to where, I don't know, like I really do think costumes really make or break films. Like if you look at any of you, just pick your favorite film right now, pick it out of your head, whether it's Pride and Prejudice, any of the Avengers movies, whether it's any big blockbuster that you can think of, if you just removed all their costumes, X-Men, it would be a totally different film. Yeah. It probably wouldn't even be
when
a
you
film
look at fan
at
films,
like costuming is a huge part of it.
Films, like the costumes, that's what a lot of times, like they have everything else but their costumes, and you're like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm not invested. I'm not, it takes you out of the fantasy when the costumes don't fit this, the environment, I feel like.
You can have the world's greatest actors, and they can be like the most perfectly casted for that role. But I think the costume, if you have them in like a Party City costume, no offense, Party City,
it's shut down anyway.
It sometimes
they went bankrupt.
Okay, then offense. Then sometimes it can really affect the realism, so to speak, of getting immersed into that film or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's
very important.
Costuming is so
important. I think it. I mean, I am biased, so I will obviously say yes to that. I think that's the case, but I'm super biased on that point. But to put that on its head, I think it actually enhances the actors and actresses in the costumes.
yeah.
I think once you put it on, like for example, when you both put on my armor, or when Corey or Zach puts on my armor, like I feel like they just feel like you just
Yes.
immediately get more empowered, because you feel like your body has to move a different way. You have to be in that armor and hold yourself inside it. And I think costumes can do that to people. Like it allows you to get into this zone that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, because you look at yourself in a mirror and you're like,
Yes.
I am a different person.
No, for sure. When I had the armor on for chapter 65, I felt, I mean, I really genuinely felt, I was like, okay, if someone was to like shoot an arrow at me, this is metal plated. Like I could survive. Like I felt like a warrior. I was like, okay, I got this. I can totally like take someone down. And I just, the whole day, I just kept clicking the metal on my chest. I just went, look at this. This is so cool. But it did, the lacing on the side, it did kind of make me hold my posture a touch higher than I normally do. And I do think it helped me personally as a performer kind of get in that headspace and get in that zone of like, okay, now we're in warrior mode, compared to what I was wearing in chapter 70 that I made. Night and day difference, Colin. Night and day difference.
I still liked what you wore in 70.
Literally,
it
it's just
great.
me in the cop pose. I just this is what I just do the whole time when I'm wearing Colin's armor. Like, I really. I want to. I want
It
to
makes
make
sense
a,
though, right?
Yeah, I
You
want to
can
make
tell
like
why
a
a
edit,
cop does
like,
that.
some sort of like with a like a cop type sound, and like edit all the videos of me just like doing this. But
Well, can I tell you, in X-ray, that's how we hold our lead, because like it's just heavy, and it's just like, what do you either put your hands in the apron like this and just like let them relax, or you hold up here on your lead. So like while we're in the OR on these really long cases, like that's kind of where our hands are the whole time. So it makes sense. Like it's lead armor kind of for radiation, but like you're like
it's just
literal armor, like
comfortable.
legit real
So,
armor.
Colin, how did you even get
Yeah.
started in this though? Like,
Yeah.
how, like, you're a risk analyst by day, and like, how did you start like making these elaborate, like, you're so good at it too. Like, it's wild to, like,
Detailed.
just, yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you mentioning all the detail. I do that warms my heart. I love when people just like compliment me on the detail, because I would say, like, if you look at these two just sitting behind me, YouTube viewers, you can see it. They, from far away, they just look like two black figures almost, right? Like that's just I just use black leather, but my style is fractal in nature, meaning the closer you get, the more details are revealed. So I like when things are far away, they kind of have like a very simple silhouette, but then the closer you get, the more details are revealed. So that always warms my heart to hear that. But how I got into it was it's a pretty good story. So I loved Halloween. I grew up in a Halloween household. Halloween was my family's favorite holiday. Like my parents, and I definitely can blame this all on my parents. They made a lot of my costumes and their own costumes growing up. So like my parents weren't afraid to dress up as adults. Not part of the cosplay realm. They didn't even know what that word was. I don't even know if that existed back when I was a kid. It did. I know it did. I know the history of cosplay now,
Right.
but they didn't know what it was. They just loved Halloween, and we loved it, and we always had these awesome costumes. But then you grow up, you start finding different interests. But I was never like given the opportunity to create them myself, because like nowhere through schooling, especially if you're like a guy like me, you're never pushed into like the sewing class. And even though you do have like a sewing rotation that happens, like you get like 2 weeks of
Oh, and you
sewing
make a
in middle
pillow.
school, I think is what it is.
I
Yeah,
made
you
the
make a pillow
worst
or a
pillow, by the
pocket or
way.
something. It's a terrible introduction to sewing. No wonder everyone hates sewing, because that's your introduction. Like, what good is that little pillow? Or I made a pocket. We just had a thing and I had to stitch on a pocket. Like I was mimicking a pocket on a shirt. It was so boring and not fun. So it wasn't until way later, because when I got into college at Utah State, so I went to Utah State University, and at Utah State here in Utah, it's known as one of the party schools of the North, kind of. It's not known as a party school, but they have really awesome parties, and their Halloween party is known all throughout Utah and even the surrounding states. They have a huge Halloween party, and every single year I would go and I would modify my costume. Like I would go to
Not
the
Party
thrift
City?
stores or Savers or whatever it was. I would get something, not Party City, Savers or the local thrift store, and get something and then I would modify it to whatever I was doing. But if there was something that was more technical that I couldn't do, for example, I
Love
was
it.
Gaston one year. That sounds like such a typical
Do
college
you have
bro thing to
photos?
do.
That's
That's
Val
our
and I's
guy.
guy. That's Valerie and I's guy.
Oh
We love
yeah,
Gaston.
so I did
Text
that.
us photos.
It was really fun. But I couldn't attach the yellow lapel to the shirt. I got this like red polo and I got a yellow shirt to attach lapels to, but I
Oh.
couldn't do it, so I had to have my mom do it. And that was like a constant thing. Every single year I did ask my mom, my dad. My dad's actually a really good tailor himself too. It's not just my mom. They're both really good at sewing. And then once I got married, my mother-in-law also helped me with one of my costumes. So then COVID hit and I was like, man, I'm getting sick and tired of asking my mom or my mother-in-law to help me with stuff. I should be able to do this. Like, it can't be that hard. So then I asked my mom, I got a project because at this point I'm way older. I know how I work, how I get through certain learning curves. So I picked a project that I thought was a pretty good beginner project, but that wasn't dumb that I would never use. Like, I picked something I would actually wear.
What was it?
So I made a motorcycle jersey. So my wife's family, they all ride dirt bikes and they all have like jerseys they wear over their armor. So my family grew up riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers too, but we never wore the armor. We did a lot of just trail riding. We didn't actually use armor. So I got armor to ride with their family on the dirt bikes, but I didn't have a jersey. So I really wanted to make a jersey. It's very, very in the style of the Necromaker. It's not your typical jersey. It's basically a pumpkin with rips in it.
I need
It's
to see
like
this
very
jersey.
decked
Do you
out
have it
Halloween
still?
style.
We'll insert
Yeah,
a photo
just send
here
it
if
to
you
us.
don't mind. If
Yeah.
you send it to us,
Yeah, I'll send a photo.
we'll insert
Yeah.
it here.
But I figured that was a good project because it's basically a tank top, just a front and a back put together. And then with some little extra detail that would push my skill set just a little bit farther. And it took me way too long to make that. I remember my mom showing me like how to pin things together and like start sewing. And I made the machine literally go like this slow. Chukunk, chukunk, chukunk. And my mom, she laughed and she was like watching me. My mom is so patient. She was like sitting right next to me. She was watching me and she kind of had this little chuckle under her breath. And she's like, you can step on the pedal a little
I
harder.
don't want to ruin it, Mom. I don't want to ruin it.
And because I was just I was so afraid that like it would just like escape from me and I would have to ruin it or redo it. And that's how I got started. But I can't tell you the amount of like, I don't even want to say like endorphin release isn't like the right term. Like when I first made that very first like section, that first seam I made, it like unlocked a part of my soul I didn't know was there. Like it was such a connection. It was actually kind of weird to me. Like I didn't realize what I was feeling at first. I just was so like over the top excited and fulfilled. And I made it and I was so proud of it. It's not the best thing. It's kind
You
of
still
janky.
wear
It's
it?
got a huge neck hole.
Love it.
Yeah, I wear it when I ride.
Aw,
I wear it around Halloween time too because it's basically a pumpkin.
I love that.
So yeah, I love it. But that introduced me to this thing that I loved, and it was sewing. And I couldn't believe I loved sewing. And then I started getting more into cosplay and more into Comic Cons. And I was like, I'm a super competitive person. I played sports all my life. I was a D1 athlete.
The spear
Like
throwing,
I
right?
loved competition. Well, yeah, I threw javelin for Utah State. Yep.
Which you guys can see in chapter
So
17. Sorry.
cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got into cosplay, and then I realized that there were like cosplay contests, and that just like I was like, oh, I'm so game. I'm gonna win. I made a costume from My Hero Academia, and I didn't even make it past the online portion. And I put in tons of hours on that thing. I even had my mom help me a little bit because I was trying to figure out crazy sewing techniques, and I didn't even make it past the online submission part. It's intense. Like the Comic-Con world for getting your stuff into like the
I did
competition
not
space,
realize
it's
it was that
intense.
hard.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's very intense. So like what you're looking at here, like that is like the level of competition
Have
you
you
have to
tried
get in order
again?
to get past the online submission. That's standard.
Wow.
That's the standard is what you're seeing back here. Like Cassian and Azrael, that's standard. My thing that I made from My Hero Academia, it's Lemillion, the character for the listeners. that they said it was too simple of a project. And when I got that feedback, I was like,
our
that was
heart.
too simple? That was so hard.
But I'm happy that it turned, like, the way your
Yeah.
outlook was not to be like, well, shoot, then I give up. You were like, okay, say less. I'm just going to get better.
Oh yeah, I was so pumped. I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm just
Yes.
gonna kick butt next year. So that's what I did. I made the Witcher costume. I replicated Henry Cavill's season 2 armor. Um, and then that was like graduating, right? So like maybe
Sure.
this is where we can bring this in, Val, because we were speaking beforehand. Is I started realizing that my stuff, I made the Witcher costume, but it still didn't have the right look that I wanted it to, because I made it out of foam and I skinned the foam with vinyl, like pleather vinyl. So it looked kind of like leather, but it still didn't act like leather. It didn't move like leather. It didn't groan like leather. Leather has a certain groan when you move. And it was still too thick. Foam is a very thick material. And I was like, man, I love these things, but it just doesn't feel as real. And then I look back to, I started like this. I mean, there's a lot of things that all melded together here. But one of my favorite films of all time is the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale,
Yes.
because that was my introduction. I would say arguably that trilogy is what inspired the MCU. Like when people say that costume's been MCU'd or whatever,
Yeah.
I would say the Dark Knight did it first. They were the ones that took this comic book costume and said, what if
Yeah.
it happened in our world?
Yeah.
And tried to give it a realistic spin. And I just loved that when I was growing up. Gosh, how old was I? The first
Oh
one
my
came out in
God.
2005,
We're so
so
old
fifth
now.
grade. So I loved it. I know.
20 years ago.
It's crazy that came out 20 years ago. I know.
No.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
unacceptable. I don't like that.
Yeah, it is crazy. So, but then I realized when I did the Witcher one and I was trying to get better and actually deciding I really want to get good at this, I started to feel like I needed to develop a style, not just replicate things. Because sure, I love replicating costumes is fun, but that's never where my artistic passion has been. It's always been bringing something out of my head into the real world rather than just replication. And I was like, if I'm going to do that, I need to start developing a style so that way my style is very known. And I thought back to everything I loved, the Dark Knight trilogy, Lord of the Rings, like everything that I loved was like this really realistic, grounded in some sort of reality that was very plausible when you looked at it. It wasn't like, oh, that's CGI'd.
Mhm.
It was that
Yeah.
actor's wearing his costume. There's no CGI at all. And I wanted that to happen for my costume. So that's where I started. I made the transition from foam and warbler to leather and metal. And then textiles, fabrics has always been there. But I rarely use a polyester or any synthetic materials now. I only use like linens, cottons,
Interesting.
wools for the materials. Because that even to me adds, like, you can tell,
Mhm.
I think the viewer
Subconsciously, I
subconsciously
love
can
it.
tell
But you're right.
that it's, yeah, like I don't think they pick up on it. Like I don't think you guys look at my vest and be like, oh, that's amazing linen
I was
he's
just about to
wearing.
say, is your vest linen? Well, no, I think it adds like a certain, like, it falls differently and hangs differently on people's bodies.
Mhm.
So that's what I think I would notice. Like, whether if you were going to go like a synthetic material, like polyester, like you said, it would kind of wrinkle in certain ways, and it would probably wrinkle a lot easier, maybe. Um,
Mhm.
and where
It
that
wrinkles
kind
has
of,
a sheen to it.
yeah, and then yours kind of like not that it's, I don't, the word's not form fitting, but it's like kind of sturdier. Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of natural materials have a lot more sturdiness to them because they don't have elastic in them.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, so I think I
How
can
did
see that.
you?
Again.
So
I guess I'm just skipping ahead here, but I'm very curious. I'm very
no, that's
no.
fine.
I'm
very
very
long-winded.
curious
Always cut me
why
No,
off.
you're
you
good. We like it.
chose Cassian to create first before Azrael.
Is he your
Yeah.
favorite? Because me
Mhm.
too.
Yep,
Okay.
Cassian is my
There
favorite
it is.
character. But the reason I chose, yeah. So I did prepare this because I thought they would ask me why. Because Cassian, out of all my ACOTAR costumes I've made, out of the 14 now, I guess, he's the second one I ever made.
Oh, what?
Callias
Oh.
was technically first.
Okay.
Because I got invited to a ball way back when I was making Cassian at the time, but that's a way more intense costume than Callias. So I finished Callias first to go to the ball with my wife as Vivian. We were portraying some characters at the time, so that was really fun. That was
Wow.
a long time ago. That was like 3 years
But
ago.
then also you made a
Um,
Tamlin edible. So technically we made 15
You did
technical
make
ACOTAR
that for
costumes.
ACOTAR.
Technically.
I did technically make the Tamlin there. So yeah, Cassian
There
was
you go.
technically my third ACOTAR
Yeah.
costume. I mean, he was started first,
That
but
tracks though, because
finished
the
third.
level of damn
Yeah.
detail in that costume is crazy.
Oh, it's intense.
When
Yeah.
Zach put on the armor for the first time on chapter 70 and he just walks out, I just remember being like, holy sugar. Like this was
Me too.
Yeah, what was that for you? Like, was that the
This
first
was
time? Was that the
wild.
first time somebody else wore that besides you? How did that feel?
Mhm. Yeah, that was the first time someone else had wore it. It was incredible. When I was putting, because that was also the first time I was putting it on. Because when my wife has to put it on me, it's not something I don't have glamour and can't snap my palms and boom, it just appears on me. So my wife is the one who always helps get me into it, but I was helping Zach get into it. So, it was surreal because the whole time I was so nervous because I wanted it to. I was just praying it was going to fit,
Yeah.
right? Because that one I made for me. It's not made for Zach, but luckily him and I have like the exact same measurements,
that was
so it
lucky.
fit perfectly.
You also made
that was
Max's
super
costume
lucky.
for chapter 70 as well. That I was when you sent us like the rough draft on what you were designing, I remember being like, shut the heck up. This is going to be so cool. The detail that Collin incorporated, and if you go back on his Instagram, you can go and see he does like a little video about it. But I love the 3 metal stars in the center, and then I can't think of Corey's Azrael costume right now, like detail wise, but I feel like there's a touch of like almost bat-esque bits to each one. Or am I going crazy? Like the edging.
Like this one?
Yeah, I remember Max says it has like detailing.
Oh, yeah. So Max it's all in his shoulders is the detailing.
Okay.
And you're thinking of this spot
Yeah,
right here.
yeah.
It goes like that.
Do you have that for
So,
Cassian too? I can't remember.
So all of them are a through line. So that's why, like that one picture that you guys posted, where all 5 of you are standing there. It looks like you're part of the same unit because in my mind, I've held very consistent to the standards of what I think an Illyrian should wear. So it never drifts too far from that. They were all made in my head to fit like they were supposed to be together. Like they came from the same camp. The only one that's like the farthest away is Rhysand, because when we were talking, you're like, I really want it to show off that not only is he Illyrian, but also he's
and
from
High
the
Lord.
Court of Dreams.
Yes.
So that's why it's a more mixed look. His doesn't look like, I would say, like in the film, Azrael, Cassian, Moore, and Feyre, their armor looks very Illyrian, and then Rhysand, his is like Illyrian and Court of Dreams. His is a more mixture, but it's still in the same vein.
About making
like how I made
Rhys's
it.
costume, had you already thought about Rhys in any capacity?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I already have. So I've thought about.
Right.
I mean, I've thought about all the
I mean,
characters.
that was a dumb question. Of course you've thought about it, but I didn't know in that moment if you like. Was there anything that you had previously thought about Rhys, and then when we came and said, "Hey, we kind of want this," did you marry those two ideas, or did you come up with something completely different for us? Okay.
Completely different.
Really?
Yep. My Rhysand.
I'm curious.
So my Rhysand that I made, because what you guys have is the Court of Dreams mixed with an Illyrian, right? I have 2 more costumes I want to make Rhys. Obviously, he needs a set of armor. Like he would wear a set of armor. Like in the 3rd book, he's literally wearing the exact same Illyrian fighting leathers. He's actually one of the 3 references in the whole series that talks about how the armor has metal in it somewhere. Because a lot of people just think it's pure leathers, which is fine if you think that, but because she says leather so many times. But there is 3 sentences in all 5 books that reference there's metal in it, which would make sense, right? If you're going to war, like I literally, I cut leather with razor blades. Like a sword's going to go through leather. No offense.
100%.
It's fun. It's a fun fantasy thing to think of, but it really is not going to stop too much.
No.
Whereas metal does. And it's Rhysand in the book 3, where it says he takes off his helmet and then the sweat falls from his face and pings off his thigh. And I was like,
no,
sweat doesn't ping off leather.
Wait, he
I
has
would
a
tell you, it makes like a thud. It makes like a thud noise. Oh yeah, they have Cassian and Rhys have helmets.
Yeah, okay.
That's the other thing I haven't designed. I haven't designed the helmets.
I need to see the helmet design.
So like when chapter 70 part 2 happens.
Oh yeah, I have the helmets designed. I just haven't made them.
Okay.
So let's go back. Let's go
Noted.
back a little bit. So kind of like let's talk a little bit about how we even got to like know each other. So I don't remember. I think did we come like approach you? Did we slide into your DMs? Because I feel like we did.
I think so. I think we did.
I think I reached out to you both. I'm not sure. The only reason I say that is because I am like in the social platforms. I am a very very small.
You are
fish.
a big fish. You are a big.
When it comes to follower count. Well, I do appreciate that, but I'm saying numbers wise, speaking as a risk analyst, I am a small fish. But you guys are huge, and I thought I just couldn't believe what you guys were doing. Okay. And I think I reached out and said I have a Cassian costume if you're needing help. But I don't know if that's.
I know that we saw you.
Well, I just remember
when saw your stuff.
Yeah, when Val reached out to me and was like, "Hey, this guy Collin Necromaker, he's interested like in helping us," and I was like, "Shut the front door," because obviously I saw your Cassian video, the iconic one of your wings. You're in it, you know. Sorry, I have like a bookshelf over here, so I can't. You have both wings that go up, not just
Taylor's
one.
trying to pantomime wings. For those listening, not watching.
So, and my arm's getting blocked by a bookshelf. But anyway, I remember just being like, "Holy!"
But then Taylor also
sugar,
probably also said,
because
"But we could never afford him."
Yeah, that's probably me. I was like, "Yeah, we can't afford that, Val. Like, let's come back down to reality.
Like,
come on,
what he's doing.
Like, we can't." Yeah, Val is very much the dreamer, and she's always like, "Let's just try," and then I'm over here sometimes like, I don't think that's gonna work. And then I would say like probably 7 out of 10 times it does work in Val's favor, where she's like, let's just try it. Who knows? And I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then it worked out. In this case, this was one of the 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah, because I think that is a big piece.
And then
that is
well, I'm so glad it did work out.
Same.
Obviously, like how expensive these materials are and how much time goes into making them.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't think people.
I think it's the time is the more like
I don't think people understand that
valuable.
like when they probably would contact someone like you for a quote and like you're like, okay, this is it, and they're like, oh, that's a lot, but they don't understand like how much goes into making these costumes. Like you've spent how many hours on Cassian?
Cassian alone, especially because he's my first Illyrian, is like 700.
Oh my gosh,
that's a lot of time.
Yeah,
breaking that down like. I hate math, so I'm just
if I was paid $10 an hour, that's a $7,000 costume.
Guys, see, that's why these costumes are expensive.
Okay, so hear me out.
I will say for the listeners, Whimsy Gossip did not pay $7,000. This is a nonprofit thing.
So
and I still own them. They're sitting right behind me.
Collin owns all the costumes. So hear me out. 700 hours. And say you work a 40-hour work week. That's 17 and a half weeks of work. That is a lot of time for anyone listening. Just to show the detail, because I guess to like jump ahead a teeny bit and then we can come back is when the most recent video you've made about Highburn, or maybe not the most recent, but again, when Collin says it's fractional, is that how you described it? Like it's fractal. Fractal. When you look at like Highburn's costuming and then you get closer, you have the brass threads woven in. Like that is the level of detail, because that's the metal Collin chose to go with for King Highburn. So it's like the small details like that really, when you do these close-up shots or you are a performer and like an actor in these costumes, that do really help bring that real life, like realism to life, and kind of really bring the character to life and embody certain aspects of the character. It's the costume is just as equally as important as the performance almost. So
yeah. And well, the reason they take so long too is obviously I could buy machines that would help me, right? Like I thought about it for a long time, but I only, all my leather work and all my metal work, I only do by hand. I refuse to use a machine for any help. I will use a sewing machine, obviously.
That would take forever.
But like what, like for me, like how it would take a long time. I follow a couple amazing ladies. They're from Poland that do a traditional 8th century
Wow.
costumes by hand, and they're beautiful. I can't imagine doing it by hand. But I refuse to do. But I think you can get away with textile work with a machine. Like it doesn't like pull you out of a film. But for me, whenever I see leather that's been stitched with a machine, my brain instantly thinks that's a purse, that's Western wear, that's something. Like my brain just subconsciously relates to that because that's what we see in our daily lives the most. And I did it once and I was like, oh, I'm never doing that again. So I only hand stitch my leather because there's imperfections with using your hand. Sometimes you pull tighter than other times because you're getting tired or your hand hurts. So there's minute imperfections along the way that create this masterpiece in my head. Same with metalwork. Like I only want to use like take a metal sheet and pound it with a hammer so it has these like imperfections and everything. Like nothing is put into a machine and poop pops out beautiful. Everything's made by hammer and hand.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you pick out your leather, I believe you've told us in the past, like you specifically pick out, like you don't just mass buy it. You like.
I have to feel it. Yeah, I try really really hard not to just buy online because I like to feel it. I like to see it because usually online, especially with these kinds of products, if you like they just have a standard picture of black leather, but that's definitely not what it's going to look like. Because it can come like matte, semi-gloss, gloss, satin. Like there's so many different finishes on things. So I like to not only see it, but I also like to feel it because I usually try to get to like the mid-range stuff, not the perfect stuff, but the mid-range, because then it's kind of pre-weathered and it doesn't look so real. Like if we're talking about a culture and a history and a book that for the most part people agree takes place in like a medieval fantasy setting, they don't have perfect machines to whip out perfect materials, especially the Illyrians, a warring culture that live in the mountains. Like they don't have, like they're just going to have this random hide that's not perfect and make leathers out of it.
Yeah.
Just
so that was my
curious,
thought process.
I went
behind
back
it.
and I saw that you initially reached out to us, like when we posted a Chapter 54 thing, and you were like, love ACOTAR. If you ever need any other costuming done, hit me up. And that was like in November of 2023. And then like February came around and we were planning for like 70. And then that's when I hit you back up and I was like, how about leathers for an ACOTAR fan film? And then we started a conversation from there. So you did initially do it, but then I was like, I remembered that you did, and I was like, I gotta reach back out to this guy. And then we set up a phone call and talked about Tamlin, and we all decided to be best friends forever. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, and then we're like, well, looks like we're.
So I thought it was interesting.
Looks like Collin has to hang out with us forever now.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Because I reached out because I realized too that what I was doing was starting to not fall into like the Comic-Con or even Ren Fair space. And I was like, I don't know, like if I want to get someday, you know, my ultimate goal of helping HBO or someone, I mean, my goal is I would love to just show my stuff to Sarah and be like, I don't even care if you think this is wrong. Just tell me what's wrong with it and I'll make it how you think it is in your head.
Literally.
But even if I just make gloves on the show, I would just love to, if it ever gets turned into a show, I'll just make gloves.
So you saw 54 on our page, and then
but
you saw like an opportunity, I guess. Is that what?
Yeah, I saw 54. I really liked how you treated it, and I liked that you were actually doing something with it to a degree that I thought was like I don't know, it was acceptable. I could tell from the passion, I could tell from how you guys treated it. That you guys were a good bet, so I just went for it.
Thanks, Collin. A lot of people thought we were going to be filming it off of our iPhones. When we told people we were filming a fan film, they were like, oh, they're probably going to do it on their iPhone. And I was like, well, kind of not really. So that was fun.
And that people need to know how much work and Steven actually can bring to the table. Steven is this unsung hero of all these films.
I call him Sven, so if you ever hear it interchangeably, like some of us call him Sven, but his real name is Steven Shulkoch. He's our DP, and he also like co-producing the movies and films with us, but I just call him Sven. I've known him for like over a decade, and that's like a nickname. So if you ever hear Sven or Steven, they're interchangeable, but not Stephen Walker.
Yeah,
like different.
So
Steven.
Collin, was
Sorry.
Chapter 70 the first time you'd ever been on like a film set?
Yes, it was the first time I'd been on a film set, especially where I got my stuff in it. Like at that point I had made a couple things for people who'd like been to balls and different red carpet, I'm putting that in quotes, events. But this was the first time I got to put my stuff like on a film, because I've been always so curious what my stuff would look like on the big screen, filmed underneath like a real camera, lights, however you want to say that, lights, camera, action. My stuff had never seen that way, and if my real goal is to make it to the big screen someday with HBO, Hollywood, whoever it is, then I need to know if I have what it takes, if it can actually stand up to that.
And how
kind
did
of
it?
level of production.
How was your
How
experience
did it feel
on the set of 70? Like, how was your whole because we have 70 and then we have 65. So starting with like 70, like how was that? How was that for you?
Yeah. So it was incredible. I honestly, yeah, you know how I mentioned earlier when I first started sewing that like unlocked a part of my soul I didn't know I had. That it was very that almost that same feeling came back, because it unlocked another piece. Like, not only are you making costume, like that first time it was, wow, I found a skill about myself that I didn't know I would love so much. This time was, wow, I didn't realize I loved helping bring people's dreams to life so much. And that's what it felt like that whole weekend. Granted, I was running around like crazy. I don't even think I
You
slept.
didn't. He stayed at my house, and sorry, that makes me emotional. But Collin came in and was like, "Hey, we have an unfinished basement that connects to our garage," and he was like, I was like, "Yeah, I can put like the air mattress upstairs." He was like staying in our like literally my living room, and he's like, "Actually, can I just stay in the basement?" And I was like, "Collin, my basement's unfinished," and he was like, "No, perfect. I need to be by the garage, and can I borrow some of your husband's tools?" Because he was literally, this man was making so much, and he was working on the finishing touches on Reese's costume, and I got to physically see. I feel a little spoiled because I got to physically see the detail you put into everything that I was like, this is insane. And you were like kind of working on some Azrael things, like if it was going to work, if it wasn't going to work, and like all these little pieces. And then you were also giving pieces out for people to wear on set too. Like, hey, do you need to create more realism? Here we go, wear this. And
you were so natural in that element.
He was working through the night to bring to life this dream for someone else. And not like, I mean, yeah, it's a dream of you to see your stuff, but it was also for other people. And you're very selfless. And that was just incredible. And then you somehow showed up. You were so kind. You were so attentive. You were on it. Like the wings, every single time they had like, all right, Collin, now open the wings, now close the wings. And you were just on it a million times over. Then as Callias, I'm like, hey, can you throw that javelin again? And I don't know. And you did it all with no
but also how
sleep.
much you like cared
I don't
about
understand
like
how
the Bat Boys and like their comfort and like getting them in and out and letting them have breaks and like just like, again, it's such selflessness.
Oh yeah, they're not easy costumes to wear.
About the people. You don't just care about your costumes, you care about the people in the costumes too.
Oh, well, yeah, that you guys are way too kind. That was too many compliments. I don't even know how to react to all of them. So, but I do appreciate it. But yeah, the chapter, working on chapter 65, I mean, we no offense, but that was a really tight turnaround. So that one I definitely was working through the night.
We were like, we kicked, we were like the Kool-Aid man
for all of us.
Like, more fan films. Now we're taking Mom a little bit of a breather, but
yeah.
But I would do it all over again, because to me, it's just, I mean, I love this book. I mean, for what everyone says about these books, there's so many different opinions, but I mean, I loved them. I think it's so easy. Sarah created a world that's so easy for anyone to just fit anywhere. It doesn't matter if you think you're part of the Dawn Court. I don't care. It's so easy to find yourself somewhere in the books that it brings so many people together, and I loved it. And I made Cassian first. I'm not actually originally a Cassian fan. I liked Azrael at first way more, because at first in the first all of book 2, Cassian is kind of a big dork. And that's the reason I don't like Thor in the MCU for the most part, is he went from this serious character to kind of this big goofy character, and I don't like when the big strong guy is only seen as like the dork. So that's who Cassian was for a long time. But then as it started progressing, he actually started showing the other 95% of
His
him
depth.
finally. Yeah, his depth. But I liked Azrael first because I felt like I related to him more. I liked that he was more reserved. I felt like he was nicer and kinder. But it wasn't until that scene, this scene where Cassian shields Azrael, that I was like, I switched, because at that point they were getting close, more like neck and neck. Who I liked, but
Oh,
who I
that
liked
really.
more. It was never Resend was never there for me. I don't
He's a
like
dick.
Reese that much. He's
I love
fine.
him though.
Like, he's a good character, but I don't like him. Like, I can't
He's
I
not
can't
my
relate
bat
to
boy
him as a
either.
character.
Don't
My
worry.
man.
He's like,
No, he's not
love
mine.
Reese. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love him. But
Although playing more,
Cassian's always been
playing
big.
more
So
again
wait,
has turned
Yeah.
me into more of an Azrael girly for sure. Like, I just notice
Yes.
so much
Wait,
there, and how caring
so-
he is and how loving he is, and I'm like, wait, am I like sleeping on this guy? Because like he's kind of cool, but it's still Reese for me. It's always going to be Reese.
I think it's also like I like Reese more now that Max is Reese. Does that make sense?
Actually, I do too.
Makes me love Reese more.
Because Max is such a sweet and kind human. I'm like, oh, okay, I love Reese. Like, I'm rereading A Court of Mist and Fury right now, and as I'm rereading it, I think of Max, and I'm like, oh, Max, like you're so sweet. Like, okay,
Oh, he's the perfect Reese. Like, he actually makes me like the character more, because I actually feel like Max brought a realism to Reese that wasn't
can
in the
see that,
books for
yeah.
me.
yeah. Like I just read the part where Feyre threw the shoe at his head. And I was reading it, and then I just imagined, like, I don't know why, but I just imagined Max's face. And I was like, wait, I would love to see Max's face actually be in this scene. But anyway, I think all the Bat Boys,
Yeah.
we have such a wonderful cast that I think characters that I technically did, I wasn't like sleeping on them, but I was like, oh, they're great, but like they weren't my favorite. Like, our cast is so great and so wonderful that I love them as people outside as well, that I'm like, oh wait, they're kind of great. Like, I was never an Azrael
Me
girly,
neither.
never even remotely close. Corey shows up, Corey in chapter 70, that whole neck snap scene, and I was like, am I an Azrael girly?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Baby.
Collin, what was your favorite scene in chapter
I
70?
100% agree. Ooh, in 70, it's when Cassian
What was
drops
it like
out of the
seeing
sky
that for the first
and then
time?
walks
Because you saw
over.
that for
Just
the first
because-
time in the theater, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, besides me behind the scenes with my remote working the wings. For all the listeners, that's not CGI. Those are our real wings that have motors in them.
He was really
Everything is
flying.
real. No CGI on the wings. Except for that part, yeah. We hung Zach
Did that
up.
part turn out
My
how you
brain
would want?
through
Did
the
that
sky
part
on
turn out how you
cables.
wanted it to? Like, yeah.
With the effects that we had, 100%.
Perfect.
Yeah.
With what we could do, with the budget that we had and
Yeah.
all the skill set, without actually stringing somebody up, yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible. It was amazing. It's what I wanted. That's why I made the wings move, right? Because yes, I say I have made 14 ACOTAR costumes throughout my life so far, but each pair of wings in and of themselves is a
Yeah.
character. I mean, wings are hard. They are not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, Ronald
Your
can
mom
attest.
came
My
to premiere
husband.
too, actually. Right. It was great to meet her.
Necromom,
Shout
we
out to
love her.
Necromom.
Shout out
Yep,
to
Necromom
How was
was
that
there,
having
yep.
your mom
Oh yeah,
come
she's
there?
incredible.
And obviously Michelle, your wife, was there too. So, how was that for you?
Oh, it was awesome, because the whole reason I'm even where I'm at is because of my mom, and I can't.
Oh,
She's so lovely. She's so lovely.
Collin. She is so lovely.
I'm gonna
I
have to say this faster. I'm just gonna lose it.
I'm so happy she came.
But she's amazing. I mean, she's the reason why I'm at where I'm at. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, like that you two don't even know about with 70 and with 65. Because during 70, the only reason I was working on Resand, because I already had Cassian built, and I just made Resand. Everything else was already made, like Azrael and more and everything. That was already put together. But the reason I was working through the night is because I had other commissions at the time, and I was drowning. So my mom helped. Like, whenever I need help, my mom becomes like that extra pair of hands. So my mom has touched almost all of the costumes that have been on set. At somewhere in the lineup, she's helped out. So having her there was just incredible, because she got to see like what she helped make too.
That's amazing.
Literally the threads that have woven together the pieces were woven by your mom too. That's amazing. That is amazing. And kind of it's immortalized as well. Like what I love about these films is little pieces of everyone get immortalized forever
Yeah.
on the internet. So when you
Oh
work for
yeah.
HBO one day and you're super huge and you're accepting like an Oscar or a Grammy or whatever they give out for costuming and all this stuff, not a Grammy, an Oscar. Grammy is music. But you're gonna one day you'll be able to look back and you're gonna be like, I made these for a fan film, and they'll do like a whole big thing of like, this is where Colin started out, and this is where he is now, and then your mom's still going to be front row cheering you on
Yeah.
the entire time, which is going to be really cool.
Oh yeah. So
That's beautiful.
I can't I'm forever and yeah. Every there's the famous saying if you're an Eagle Scout, like every Eagle Scout has their mom is what helped them get to Eagle Scout. So same with the Necromaker, that there's no Necromaker without
I
Necromom.
love
Oh my
it.
gosh.
So
I'm
So,
emotional.
between
That's so
70 and
sweet.
65, I feel like there was a big difference in the way that we approached everything. So Taylor and I are always trying to like get as professional and like as realistic like production as possible. The more and more we grow and try to like make this, it's still fan film, but we try to make it professional. So this time we really like gave you like costuming control. We tried to give as much costuming control to you for 65 as possible. For everyone listening, like behind the scenes, like we had like a whole costuming spreadsheet where we were like tracking everything and like what people needed and trying to be way more organized this time. So like what was that like for you? Did you enjoy kind of getting to have more control over all of the pieces in 65? Like maybe talk through like that difference between that and 70.
yeah. So so with 70 I would have said I was definitely like hired, like not hired. Hired is definitely the wrong word. You guys don't make any money from this. I helped out in the best way I could,
Mhm.
like help out with like a couple costumes, right? And then I would give advice where I could if someone asked for it. But I feel very blessed and so grateful that you allowed me to kind of take the reins. And the only reason I wanted them, or I even like pitched that in the first place, is because I felt like the one thing that was missing from 70 is you can tell that the costumes are disjointed. I'm biased. I obviously see that, but I
Yeah,
think other people can see that
definitely.
too, to a degree. I mean, it's of no one's
Right,
fault. It's, I mean,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
work with what you got, right? So,
Yeah.
I wanted that the main cast, at least the main cast, to look like they came from the same house, like they came from the same world. And that's where, I mean, if I could have made
They
all the
turned out
extra
they
stuff, I would
all
have loved to
really
do
did
that
kill it
too.
this time though
Um,
with consistency.
yes, the extras showed up. Yeah, but I think that's because a lot of them came back from working on 70 and they realized how much costuming amplifies it. So they just honed in even better as an extra, as this group. And they're just incredible that they even were willing to do that out of their
100%.
own pockets and everything.
Literally.
So
This is all
I
passion
And I
love
think
that
that
they
you
did
can
that.
see
Oh,
like the
yeah, I love
progression
that they
between
did that.
not only there's so many things between the difference between 70 and 65, but with the costuming specifically, you can very much see the progression.
You can see the progression from 54, the wings in 54 to 65. You can see a
Those
lot of
Etsy
progression there.
wings. Hey, we made
Yeah,
them move.
Hey,
We made them move.
they work.
shout out to Ori.
Yeah, they work.
So Colin, I was gonna ask when you said that the scene that made you a Cassian like fan, like Cassian's, I was gonna call you a Cassian girly, but you're not a girl. So like a Cassian guy, like you're a big fan of Cassian. Was when he shielded Azrael. When you found out we were bringing that scene
Oh,
to life for 65, were you like, oh,
I was pumped. That's my favorite scene in probably all
wow.
5
so
books.
we're
Just because I think it shows there's a certain part of it that shows so much about Cassian's love, self-sacrifice, the warrior spirit in him. It just made me instantly flip and love him forever. And I was actually talking to Luke about this.
love
Luke was
Luke.
one of the extras in 65. Um,
Love him.
and he asked me why I like Cassian so much. And he asked me, he's like, do you like it? Like, obviously it's fun because we were talking. I can't remember the exact how we got to this point, but he said, well, do you like it because you made Cassian and your wife got to be Nesta? Sure, that was a huge awesome bonus. Like, I like that relationship, but that's not why I like Cassian. I don't like Cassian
Mm.
for his relationship with Nesta. That's an added bonus, and it's fun that my wife can cosplay Nesta. but that's not why I liked him. I like Cassian because of his self-sacrifice, his brotherly love, his strength when it counts. Like he knows when to play, he knows when to work. There's so many different, like I would say, like very positive masculine like attributes about him. He's not perfect, and that's what I like about him. He's not perfect, but he's striving to be the best he can, and he knows when to make it count when it really needs to be there. And when he does that, when that scene happened, because when it happened, I mean, Reese also blocks Feyre, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's different because
They're in a
Reese
relationship.
is this. Well, not only that, but Reese is like described as the most powerful, like way above
Yeah.
any other High Lord ever. Like
That's
he's not even like
true.
in the same realm
Yeah.
as everyone else, right? And Cassian, out of the inner circle at the time before Feyre joined, him and
Yeah.
Azriel are the bottom two,
Yeah, that's why like
and in
Moore's number
power
3.
levels,
Yeah.
right? So for him to be like, yep, Amarin's 2, Moore's 3, and then so like Az and Cass are not nearly as strong, but yet he said, "I will probably die." Like Reese, when that happened, Reese probably knew he wasn't going to die because he can
Right.
take that much force. But as Cassian, he was like, "I'm gonna die. Don't care.
How do you feel about
Saving my
how
brother."
it
Making those
Zach's
wings,
performance
so-
and stuff and how it portrayed out in the film? Like how do you feel like it did it meet do you think it's going to meet what, that being your favorite?
It was actually better in my eyes than it happened. Like how I read it, it actually turned out better, I think, in the film than in my head. Because, and this is only because this was not planned or anything, and I don't want to spoil this because I think too many people are going to be so pumped to see this part, but it's basically how I made the costumes and how it all happened with, I'll just say, gravity, because wings don't actually have muscles in them when it's a costume. It actually worked better than I think it should have because of just how
I know
the material.
okay.
I
How do
can't
you
say
feel
too
about
much or
Zach's
it'll ruin
Well, so
it.
you made a separate set of wings though. So like you made a whole
That's
set
right.
of wings for this specific scene. So the wings you're going to see
Mhm.
in chapter 65, they're not CGI. We didn't just like take his wings and make them look, shredded because they are described as shredded. Collin actually, and did Michelle paint these?
Yep. So both my sets of wings
They're
that
so
I
amazing.
own, Michelle painted them because. For those of you who are listening, my wife is a professional artist. She has a degree in art. She teaches art at the middle school. She's the middle school art teacher, but then she does professional portraits on the side.
Yes.
So my wife's an incredible
The
painter.
wings look so good.
And yeah, she airbrushed the wings for me because I mean, I could do it, but not nearly to the degree that my wife could do it. She made them so real with only paint.
They look
They
so
look
good.
phenomenal.
And I needed paint, right? Because I've seen other cosplayers use like vinyls and different like leathery materials for the wings, but there's two reasons why I did not go that route. One was the weight, because as soon as you use like a vinyl, the wings just get way heavier. If you notice anyone's wings online that actually use like a vinyl don't move because the motors could not push that much material with how small the fulcrum has to be on that. So I chose a really light material. But the other reason I chose the light material is because when a bat's wings are spread, they're super thin, and I loved the effect that the light could semi-transparent, like semi-shine through them, like you would see that, like the light. So I chose a really thin material, one, so that the actuators could work, and two, so the light could be shined through them. But that means I needed some sort of painting to happen. So my wife is incredible, and she painted them, she put veins in them,
freaking awesome.
she made them look
like
amazing.
you guys are not ready for
Yeah, like when you see
for
them up
this.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
going
And then with the shredded wings were tricky because I was really trying to hold back because in the books, we know if wings get too damaged, too
Right.
far gone, they can't come back from that.
Right.
Hence, Emery can't fly. A lot of like no Illyrian woman can fly, and if Illyrian men get damaged too much, they can't fly ever again, even with all their crazy healing. So I was like, yeah, I know it says his wings are shredded, but if they're so far gone that they look like they couldn't come back,
I think they were
can't
perfect.
make them that far
they were
gone.
the
Like they
perfect
can't be
amount of gone.
strips waving in the wind.
they were.
And I do love that, like,
Yeah,
we
I think
were able to have consistency of wings in 65 as well between the two bad boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, I'm really glad we could.
So
do
going
that.
back to Val's question though, so with Zach's scream, How did that turn out for you? Like, were you, again, because this is your, I didn't know this was like your Cassian altering moment. So, like, one, I am incredibly excited that we were able to
Bring that to life.
like bring your costumes to life with that scene. Like, that makes me very happy that that was your Cassian altering moment. But,
Well, yeah, what did
yeah,
Zach's
I'm
performance
happy
do
one that
for
you said
you?
it
Like,
was better, but like,
do you
Oh,
think people
it
are
was
gonna
perfect.
cry?
I don't know because when I will.
Because I tell you what, being underneath him, like
I don't
I
know
was
if
like
people will
this the
cry.
whole
I
time,
will.
and I was like looking at the ground, and when he did it, I mean, I was right there, and I started like, I literally started crying. I like he had like, oh god,
yeah.
it was so sad. There were so many screams. I didn't know there were so many
It
damn.
was
I mean, I knew there. I
it
guess I should
was
have known there were so many screams, but like actually having to act out everyone's scream, everyone got a scream. So
hmm Oh, I thought it did perfect because when I read it, I don't
me
picture
neither.
screams very well in my head when I'm reading them, but I just knew I wanted it to sound like agonizing pain, yet a strong like I'm holding the line even though this hurts because there's a difference between pain and you give up and pain and you resist, and I feel like his scream embodied that perfectly.
Yes, it was pain and resist. Yeah, like he was not giving
Yeah,
up. Sorry, yeah, like pain and not giving it. He was holding the line. That's the
that
best way to
is.
describe it. It was pain and holding the line. Uh,
Yeah, because his power level compared
And I
to
do.
Hybern and Reese is
nothing.
nothing. I mean, he is the Lord of Bloodshed, but
And
he's
Zach
really
portrayed
not
it
anything
So
so
speaking
special.
of
freaking
power level,
perfectly, like how he was still even at
yeah,
like he's just trying so hard, and you see it all over his face. Like he just did not want to give up.
and the
Oh,
afterwards. Um,
hmm
but speaking of power level, can we touch on your take on the siphons for the Illyrians? Because I know you have a
Oh yeah.
very unique take on them, and it's I just want to go into the detail, and I want people to understand when we say it's the attention to detail. Like I want people to know it. So that's why I'm asking all these
Yeah.
silly
Oh,
questions.
I love the siphon idea. I mean, so I talked about this in one of my TikTok videos. Was I love that I feel like Sarah actually created something new in fantasy we haven't seen in so long. Was an actual like culture. Like I feel like a lot of the fantasy books they just put the fantasy sticker on it and then everyone looks very similar. Like everyone just kind of has like I would say the generic Ren Fair
Mm-hmm.
look to a degree. But she actually went into enough depth about the Illyrian outfits, the leathers, the armor, the culture. Like I have a whole Excel spreadsheet, not just on the costumes, but like their culture, the siphons, everything. And there's enough there that you could make like a whole like
I love it.
novella just on the Illyrian war camps.
That's amazing.
And when I was taking these notes, not once ever when I was reading did I think of the siphons as like ruby red or sapphire blue. I never thought of that because I was like, that is such like a modern thing. Like we put rubies and
Yeah.
sapphires into like rings that people wear on the daily. And I was like, that just those don't feel that special to me. And they don't. And I was like, two, I don't think an Illyrian would ever use such a
That's
pretty
so true.
gemstone. Like where the heck would he get that? So I wanted a different way to represent that. And when I was building these behind me here, so when I first made Cassian, because I actually entered Cassian, where is he? Cassian into the local Comic Con contest. Like I actually did make it past the online portion. I made it past the judging, and I
Yay.
actually got to present him on stage. And I actually did that costume is an award-winning
As it
costume.
should
Shut
be.
up,
As it
really?
should
It
be.
does have an award tied to it. Yeah.
I know. That makes
So
you so
it's not
happy.
like first place or anything, but it does have an
Do
award
people
tied to
know
it.
who Cassian was at
Um,
this Comic Con? Were they like Cassian?
some people
Okay,
did,
okay.
yeah. So book talk is slowly
Comic
invading
Con
Comic Con
fans.
space, which is good. So I will say when I was walking around the Comic Con all day, I really only had women approach me, but a lot of them had to ask because they weren't. I don't think they were
No,
expecting to
probably
see
not.
Cassian at a Comic Con because
And to
that was
that
before book talk
level.
really was a thing. I would say now at most Comic Cons there is a book talk
Yeah.
group, but this was before book talk blew
But
up.
you use real
So
stones.
when I was walking around, people would be like, yes. Yeah. So I
It's okay.
use, yeah, sorry, I'm
No, you're
tangenting and
good.
we're coming back. So I use real stones, and that's part of my thing because I think you can tell when something is 3D printed, resin cast. I think you can tell. I think audiences and people can tell when something isn't real. So holding true to myself, I was like, well, I have to use a real stone, but I don't want to use rubies or emeralds. Rubies or sapphires. But plus, rubies and sapphires don't really come big enough to become a siphon. Like they're teeny. So I was like, I need another stone. But this is the kicker. This is what actually led me to choose a carnelian and a blue apatite. The reason I chose those stones is because when I made Cassian, and none of you have actually seen this, but behind each one of the stones are LED lights. And I can actually make them glow through the stone. But it's not practical for filming because once it's all wired up, I have wires running because the siphons are in your hands and on your knees. I literally have siphons in every appendage, or not, excuse me, wires running throughout my whole body, and it really immobilizes the costume a lot. So it's not worth it to film with it because it would be too much of a hassle.
Make that different?
Yes, I have been doing tons of engineering to make that differently, but I do not yet have had the time to do it because I always thought like if it ever makes it onto like a big budgeted film, like they would just, that is where I will allow CGI to just be like, give it a little glow.
I mean, we can talk to Sven.
I wanted
fix
that.
it in post.
I mean, we could totally.
We actually
have built a post-production team with some volunteers from HBO actually.
Yeah. I will.
So. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I will send you a short little clip of how it actually looks when it's the LEDs glowing behind it. And the reason I chose, that's why I landed on carnelian and blue apatite per se, rather than, let's say, a red jasper versus a labradorite. Labradorite is a very blue stone. But those are very opaque. Carnelian is really the only red stone that's semi-transparent, and blue apatite is really the only blue stone that is semi-transparent that can let light through it. And I felt like that lent to so much like mysticism and power and magical, like who knows what this rock is, but I felt that it fit perfect for an Illyrian, like this stone that's semi-transparent that can channel and emit light rather than it just being glowing, like it actually like emits it. And that's what I have behind the Cassian when it's not actually incorporated. I did not have time to put lights in Ezreal's. But for Cassians, there is an LED behind each one of the siphons, and they glow this beautiful color. And because they're stones and they're not just a resin cast with dye mixed in, each stone, I mean, stones are formed differently. They have different veins in them. The coloring is different. So all 7 of Cassian's stone, they glow anywhere from like this vibrant red to this kind of flamey orange
variation,
which I like that there's a difference because you can tell that these stones were like found and used rather than made in a science lab.
Yeah.
Because the Illyrians are not chemists.
How you created the Kingdom Hybern. So this costume was, this is not, Hybern is not something that's cosplayed. Nobody does Hybern. So I mean, it's like totally original. Like how did you come up with, because it's an amazing look. I mean, Drew looked.
And did you come up with it with Drew in mind? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not come up with it Drew in mind. I came up with it before you guys had even cast Hybern, the original concept, because when I read it, I had somewhat of an image in my head when I read about him. But how I pictured him was, because there is a line in the books that says like when Feyre sees him, he's like he was dressed for like practicality over finery, and I was like, okay, well this guy obviously isn't like this like sit on a throne like kiss my hand kind of king. This is a warrior who turned into a king kind of guy. And so I really wanted to show that this guy was like combat ready, that this guy was not to be messed with. Like he didn't need his guards, like he was his own guard. So I really wanted to show that in the look. And then I really try to stay away from fan art because I actually don't like most of the fan arts because in a way what I do is fan art, right? Like I just do it in a 3D realm rather than a 2D space. So I don't like a lot of the fan arts I see because it's not how I picture them in my head and how I would bring them to life. There's a couple I like, but for Hybern, I mostly don't like any of them because I feel like everyone just falls into the same prompt, if you want to use AI terms. They just like scary guy, black skulls, boom. Let's make that. Put a crown on him. And I just didn't want that because I think skulls, especially in anime or anything animated cartoons, skulls are really cool. in the real world, skulls can become kitschy really fast. So you gotta use skulls very sparingly, or any type
Yeah.
of like the bones or anything like that. Now I know his
Which
throne
we're
is
not
made of
able to
bones,
recreate because they're.
but a lot of fan art people like.
But I mean,
I
I
know,
think
that's a
the
bummer.
throne that we did choose worked
It's
very
fine.
well with the brass.
Oh, it was perfect.
It complemented.
I loved it. Yeah, I liked the throne, and I think people are willing to forgive that, because where the heck are you going to find a throne of bones
Dude, I
that doesn't
looked and
look
I'm like,
like
there's nothing. Like,
plastic?
there's nothing out there. It would have to be custom made, obviously.
No, yeah, no. It'd have to be
Yeah.
a custom, really expensive
Yeah.
piece, and it'd be beautiful, but it'd be
Mhm.
expensive. But I didn't want to put like
Yeah.
bones on him, because I was like, it says his throne is made of human bones. It doesn't
Right.
say he's wearing bones. But I did want to give like homage to that. So if you notice on his armor, there's two things coming up on him. Those are supposed to act like ribs,
That's cool.
but they're made out of leather. They're very
But you
like
did
subconsciously you
complement
pick that up.
70s
But
colors,
they're supposed to
which I thought
mimic
was really
ribs.
cool, which we then tied into all of the guards as well. This kind of like our whimsy space has created this maroon color for Highburn. So it was
For
kind of
Highburn.
cool that you were able to
Yeah.
incorporate that into him.
Yeah, so I love that we actually have like a tertiary or a secondary color for them, just because it makes them one stand out. Because also, this is the other thing that kind of drives me nuts with fantasy right now, is everyone is black. Everyone just wears black, and
Right.
it's fun to have some colors. So, I mean, black is super, super awesome, and it makes everyone look super cool. I'm not going to
Right.
deny that, because I love these costumes, but I do like having colors. Like, that's why if the viewers could get closer to these costumes, you just go look on Whimsy's page. But the close-up shots of the Illyrians, I actually use brown thread, because I wanted a contrast,
I love that.
not just black on black on black on black. Same with Hybrid. I didn't want just black armor. That's why I liked that we kept the tertiary color of maroon, and then I gave him that secondary color of brass, because I still felt like he owned the fact that he was a king, and he liked the status of king. And I think nothing says king like brass or gold.
I love your take on his crown, because it's not like a traditional like sit on your head type crown. How did you decide on the crown for Highburn? And the design in it, because it has design on it.
So that's something I really wanted to. I always, with all my costumes, not only do I try to pick a color palette that like fits them, but I also pick like a shape language that goes with them. So the shape language for the Illyrians is it's circles and triangles. That's like the shape language all throughout their costume are circles and triangles. But for Highburn, I really was thinking like, how could I make him stand apart, different from the Illyrians, because he is also going to be wearing black, but not look like he comes from the same place, but yet he does at the same time. So instead of him being circles and triangles like the Illyrians, he is sets of 3 along with the diamond shape. That's all throughout his costume. So that's why the brass wire, it's in sets of 3 everywhere. So it's sets of 3, sets of 3. It's a
Collin,
set of 3 with the triangle.
What? Like, this is next level.
So is that why his crown
Yeah,
has
sorry.
three, right?
There's a
3
lot that
things
thought
on
about
his
it.
crown?
Yeah.
The design?
His crown has, oh man, it's been a while since I took a look at it, but it has like different aspects. It has the diamond pattern on it. And then I wanted it to sit not like a crown, like, and I actually just kind of blame this on the fact that we have so much like Ren Fair crowns. Like, I don't think a lot of those crowns, like how they sit kind of like on the back of your head, that's how a king would wear it. Like, if you look at like a lot of like Lord of the Rings, it sits down on their head, like actually across their forehead, not like on their not on the crown of their scalp, but actually on their head.
I loved that.
So I wanted that look. I wanted him to look like that crown had sat there for a while, and it was not just like something he put on and off.
So
Oh
cool.
yeah, I have it in the room.
How
back
did
there
you
somewhere.
feel about seeing?
Do you have like photos of all of your costumes?
What, Taylor?
Like,
Well, I'll answer yes. I do. I do have not yet. I don't have all of them yet, but I've been slowly putting them in my studio space and taking pictures of them.
How did you feel seeing Drew with the whole getup for the first time? Like, oh, and what was Drew's reaction? Because we didn't get to see Drew's first.
When I was.
yeah, we didn't get to see.
That's true. None of you did get
You're
to see.
so
The whole
lucky.
time he was just like He was like, "This is just the coolest thing I've ever put on." He just kept saying sentences of that nature, which made me feel good. But what was kind of really cool, and I actually have a
Yes.
video clip of this. I will send it to you guys. I actually do have the behind the scenes of this. I think it was the second day we were putting it on this happened the first day too. Not only was he ecstatic that like he was like, "This is just the coolest thing," which is a huge compliment. I'm not trying to boost my
No,
ego.
but
That's just a huge compliment. But
credit where
what was
credit's
cool is
due.
near the ending process, and this happens with whoever I put a costume on. If there's a mirror nearby, whoever I'm putting the costume on wants to watch themselves be dressed. And I think that really shows how much a costume matters. And I could tell that as we put on more and more layers onto Drew with King Hybern, what was interesting is I have a video clip of it. There's one part where he actually like looks down and then he looks back up and he's totally
He's
different.
Hybern.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty
With the
cool. I actually have that
gloves. The gloves weren't
video clip. I need
originally
to send
going
it
to
to
be
you.
on Hybern, right? I think that was a great
Oh, that's
choice, though.
that is. No, not my choice. That was Maury's.
But you
husband's
agreed,
choice.
right?
Hey. Shout out to
Yeah,
Adam.
So I was talking to Adam because I
Yes,
dressed
you
Hybern
dressed
and
so
I
many
dressed his
people.
guards, right? I mean, I gave the guards a couple pieces. I didn't dress the guards fully. I complimented what
They
they
looked
brought
sick.
to the table. So I gave them a maroon tabard
cool.
to help them match and just stand out. I wanted them to look different than the other guards. Like I wanted them to look like first and second lieutenant, not just random guard. But I was talking to Adam and I was like, I had these gloves and I was like, this wasn't originally part of the idea, but I brought them just in case you like them. Because I was like, I don't know if I want to put bracers on you guys. And I was like, what do you think about the gloves? And no joke, he was like, I think we should do them. I don't think Hybern or his guards would ever touch a dirty human. And I was like,
So
sold.
smart, though. That's true.
That's perfect. And once he said that, oh yeah. So then I gave them the two guards the gloves, but then I was like, I have one extra set of gloves, and I'm giving them to
that's how it
Hybern.
happened. Oh my!
That's so because there is
What
a
Yeah,
scene.
I had one
I
extra
can't
pair.
imagine him without gloves.
I mean, it's
I
not in the
cannot
book,
imagine him
but
without gloves now, like because it's so right. Like, ew, dirty
yeah,
humans.
well, it's not in the book, but we kind of added in a scene where he does touch one of the girls, and it's completely right. Adam was right. Hybern would never stoop so low to touch something so beneath him.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, sold. So then I was so glad I brought the one extra pair of gloves. I just brought them for.
I'm
I was like,
so
maybe
happy.
Jay Sean will
Yeah,
wear
that
them.
you
Who
did
knows
that.
who will wear them?
Speaking of Drew and Hybern, though, how do you feel the world is going to react to his performance? How do you feel about him bringing Hybern to life? Do you like his take of Hybern?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't know how people are going to react. Because I think because he's not the most fleshed out character, I think people read him in so many different variations. Because Drew's performance was not at all how I pictured it in my head. But I thought it was awesome.
I think I can't see
I thought it did so well.
I can't see it any other way now. Like when I read all the lines, like when I first read it, I read him as, for whatever reason, I thought Hybern, and Collin, you were actually the one who says, no, like he's an attractive, like he's not super old. Like I thought he was like some 60-year-old man. And Hybern is not like a 60-year-old looking man. I was thinking he's like Baron's age or older. And when I listen, I actually had Sven here and he was at my house and we were listening to the graphic audios. And I was like, this is how Hybern sounds in the graphic audio. And then I would listen to how Drew portrayed him. And Drew just sounds like he's one screw loose Hybern.
And I love it.
And
yeah,
it's so fun.
I love it.
It was awesome.
Now I'm like, wow. I mean, I think it added a whole different level of Hybern
dimensions,
to him, like his just
and
performance.
And Drew, what I love was he commanded the room the whole time. Like he commanded. Yeah. I don't know. He just had the presence of somebody who literally didn't give a fuck. Like he had a plan, but he also didn't care about. He just didn't care. He just did not care, and like it was amazing.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted to give him. Like he was the one I was like, wow, if I'm giving Azrael a new costume, like I was like, Hybern needs to be matching. Like needs to look like
he's a king.
He could match Cassian, Reese, Azrael. Like
Corey
he couldn't just be taken. Like he needed to match them. So yeah, he did look really good in Azrael.
Yeah,
huge step
definitely.
up from 70.
Yeah. So besides Cassian, Cassian's screaming moment, what was your favorite moment in 65?
So it is and I don't even know I don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but I'm assuming the intro, the
fight
coming
choreo.
into the throne, the fight choreo, because to me, I think that's going to mean there's a lot. I mean, I could literally say just every single scene in 65. I have so many favorite moments, but I'm picking that one and I'm highlighting it because the way that fight scene was choreographed I was really hoping it would show the years, like hundreds of years of brotherly love and fighting side by side that they don't even need to talk. They can just blow past. They're that good.
And that in sync.
And yet, because then you would get the contrast when you get to Hybern, and it's
I'm
like
glad we
their
I'm glad
power
we
just
added
goes to
that whole
zero.
thing.
Well,
like, that was Taylor's idea, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Colin, a core moment for me was when we were all watching the footage back, and we all like shouted. Like after filming, the cast was back at the cast house, and Sven was showing us some of like the clips that we filmed, like raw, unedited. And there's a moment where everyone was like, "Give it up for Colin," because the costumes just looked so freaking sick. And just seeing your face, and like I was so happy that everyone in that room was able to recognize the talent that you are. Obviously our cast is wonderful and amazing, but just like you getting a moment of just pure accolades was just such like a it was just a good feeling to like see someone so deserving to get that
Yes.
spotlight on them, you know what I mean? Because we're all watching our performances, but at the end of the day, every one of our performances has a piece of your performance in it to bring that realism to life. Because again, if I was wearing something from Amazon, as I do when I'm not in Collin attire, it just probably would not have been the same appearing.
That
yeah,
was
but
beautifully
anyway,
said, oh my god, you're gonna make me.
but
You're
it
gonna
was
make me cry.
That was too nice.
it was
No,
just
but that's
it's
so
one of those
true.
memories in my head.
I remember
that I was
that
just,
moment as well.
yeah, I just remember looking back, and yeah, everyone was like, "Go Collin!" and I was like, "Yeah."
So, there's a couple more.
But
Oh,
when
go ahead.
it came. Oh yeah, I was just going to ask about your because you've spoken to me about this before, but if you could just go into depth, or like just an explanation, not even too deep if you don't want to, but how you design the difference between Cassian's armor
Oh yes.
and Azriel's armor, because while they're similar, they're actually different for functionality purposes.
Yep. So the Illyrians, my through line with the Illyrians is they're basically like Greek hoplite meets 1500s Gothic Knight or German Gothic Knight. So I was trying to combine a lot of those ideas. That's where a lot of my references are pulled from. And the reason I did that is because I wanted their armor to not look like so heavy, right? Because one thing that Feyre notes is she's like, she can barely fly with her own body weight, like let alone this crazy armor. So like the armor couldn't look like super heavy. Like I didn't want it to look heavy, but I wanted it to look very functional. But the difference between Cassian and Azriel is I wanted them to look different because they're two different people. They're two different roles in the Illyrian army, right? Cassian is the Lord of Bloodshed, the general of the army. He's a power. Lord of Bloodshed would signify he gets the dirtiest. He's down in there, wrecking everybody. So I wanted him to feel like, in D&D terms, the tank, or like the heavy armored soldier, like completely armored out, decked out. Maybe inhibiting some of his mobility, but he's the most protected, so he can be down amongst his own men in the trenches. Azriel is not that. That is not his role at all, right? He's the spy master. He's behind the scenes. He's the only, in my mind, the only Illyrian that can winnow, but he doesn't winnow, right? He travels through the shadows. We don't exactly know what it is yet. But he's the spy master, so I wanted his armor to feel like a scout. Like he was way lighter than Cassian. Like he didn't have as much armor coverage, not nearly as much metal. Like Cassian has a full chest plate, back plate, a lot more metal all over him, whereas Azriel only has metal, like really on, like just protecting
Not
his
from an
heart and his
ash arrow.
lungs. But
Definitely
other than
not
that,
from
it's
an ash
mostly
arrow.
leather everywhere.
Which you had to
Yeah.
cut on
Well,
site.
that's why if you look at it, yeah, that was painful, but we did it because we had to marry those up last minute. But I designed it because I was like, it would make sense that he would get shot, because if Cassian got shot in the same place, it wouldn't have worked because it would have just bounced right off his armor. But because Azriel has the light armor that can't
Makes a lot
withstand
of
those
sense.
blows, he got
That makes
hit.
a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's why. And if you look, and I think the best reference is, I can send you another picture if you want to throw this up there. But I was very inspired by Boromir and Faramir from Lord of the Rings. There's a scene in the extended movies, if you watch the extended ones, which is the correct way of doing it, is there's a scene where they're talking to each other, and Boromir is in heavy clad armor and Boromir is in his scouting uniform. They're both part of the same Minas Tirith army, but they are totally different functions, totally different roles. And I wanted that to come across in these two costumes as best as I could, even though it's black on black on black. There's leather and there's scales, but I still wanted that to happen. And I feel like I got really close.
Yeah.
Do I think I nailed it 100%? No.
Well, you could always
According to
do
my,
better.
there's so many things I would improve. Every single time I make one, I
That's how we
always
feel
like,
about-
oh,
that's how
I'll
we feel
do
about
this and I'll do
literally
this next
everything we do,
time.
too. We're like, we could, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I
do.
could guarantee all of us behind the scenes,
I do
anyone
really
who's a
wanna
crew
get
member
into
can feel
Tamlin
that.
and Lucian. So that was a huge addition in this film. These were like two amazing characters that we got to add to the dynamic of 65. For on one hand, like Tamlin, knowing like that you kind of, you're not a Tamlin hater. You're part of the Tamlin sympathizers,
Nope.
like we are.
Yep.
And so I want you to kind of go through like your process of how you created his costume, and then Steven's like performance. Like, how do you feel about that? Real quick, let's just do Tamlin real quick.
Well, also, you already made a Tamlin costume, so technically, I guess you could have used the one you made, but instead you went a totally different route with this one.
Yep. So we couldn't have used it. I don't own that one
okay.
anymore. It's not mine to use or own anymore. But so it's not my first time making a Tamlin costume. But that one, it would have been great in a pinch had we run out of time. But it wasn't right for that scene, right? I made that one Tamlin going to a ball, right? Like him going to the back of his closet saying, I have to go to this ball. Here's a nice thing I have that someone made me. I'll wear it to the ball. But that's not how he's not going to a ball. This is not a ball scene. Who knows what he would be wearing, right? But I pictured in my head, he's wearing something that is casual, but yet it's still got a very regal, casual, practical, warrior-esque feel to it. So it's basically a type of gambeson without sleeves, but elevated a little bit to look a little bit nicer than just a standard gambeson. And then I always,
Collin,
with the
what's a
spring court in mind,
gambeson? I'm nodding my head like I know what it is, but I don't.
That is.
I don't know what a gambeson is. Sorry.
So a gambeson is cloth armor.
Okay.
Just think like padded cloth armor. So if you type in knights, like a knight, 1500s knight, what they wear under the plate armor is a gambeson.
Okay. Cool.
So it's like lots of layers of cloth stitched together, so that way that was the cheapest form of armor that people could make and or buy.
Okay.
It was just cloth
just kidding.
armor. No.
Yes, I get
not
it.
cheap, but I just wanted him to not be in armor because I don't think he would show up in armor.
Is he ever described as an armor?
But he wouldn't show up in a ball.
In the first book, I think he wears like he has his. I think he's. I don't know. I read the first book a couple weeks ago. I can't remember. Maybe
I think he might put on some like scouting stuff, but it's never very explicit on what he wears. The only thing it's explicit on, and this is my one gripe that I could not get to, I just ran out of time, is he wears his Illyrian bandolier. You don't know that the whole book. I think everyone, the first book, because it's the Spring Court, I think most people picture that bandolier as brown leather, but it's not till the second book you learn it was a gift from the Night Court. So it's actually black leather.
Given the history.
Wow.
Okay, this is deep. That's gonna take me down a
So
whole
that's my
one
madness.
So Tamlin.
Well, because that's like the recent.
That's my
Tamlin
one gripe I
friendship,
couldn't get to.
Because
I know.
Reese technically taught Tamlin how to fight.
Yep. We would just go.
Wait a second.
Thank you for saying
that.
Yeah,
you could go on that for a long time. What that means and
for
all the
Lucian,
symbolism.
you chose a short coat like type. What made you go with the short? Like what would you call that? A short coat? Short.
Yeah, it's just like a.
Yeah, and why did
like
you
a short
choose that
coat.
design for him?
But it's a vest. So I chose that because, one, he's from the Autumn Court originally, right? His blood is Autumn in essence, right? That's where he comes from. And I didn't want him to look the same as Tamlin. I didn't want to give him the same color palette. I like that his color palette can range from anywhere from fall colors to spring colors. That's where, and so I wanted to land right in the middle. I wanted to do the brown just so that way it gave him a different look than Tamlin, because Tamlin's always in green. I wanted to give Lucian, especially in this, because at this point he's kind of like not necessarily totally Team Tamlin. He's kind of just being there for his buddy, but he's maybe not agreeing with everything. And then he's really not agreeing with everything when everything happens in this chapter 65. Yeah. So I wanted to show that he's not fully spring court with wearing maybe a green outfit, but he's wearing something brown. And then with the jacket, the short coat, it was just easier to work with, to take on and off, put it around Maury and everything like that. I just think it worked better and just made him look different. It just gave him a different look. And two, I will say I kind of did this in mind, because the belt he's wearing, he has a belt on, and it's just hidden just on the side. It's just for those people who are looking for it, but it's a fox-headed pouch.
Insert
so that way it's like
here.
for those people who are like, yeah, Easter egg for the people who are the fox boys and the fox girlies out there. It's a little nod to them.
That does not hate Tamlin. How do you feel people will react to Stephen Walker's performance of Tamlin and how we portrayed Tamlin in 65?
I think they'll love it. I do think people will look at Tamlin differently. And there's one scene in particular. It's after he gets punched. I think after that scene, I think it's where it's like, because before that, I think people will see Tamlin exactly how SJM paints him to be, right? It's just this evil bad guy as he storms across the room or whatever. But it's when he gets punched and he looks up. Steven just did such a good job at emoting. And because he is also a Tamlin sympathizer, I feel like he really nailed the fact that he's like, I am just trying to do the best I can with what I have at my disposal and with what knowledge I have, especially with the fact that everyone completely disregards the fact that Rhys puts out to the whole world, I'm this evil, mind-manipulating guy. That's literally how he presents it. He's like, people don't even know the Court of Dreams exists. Mm-hmm. They only know about the Court of Nightmares, and that's how I present myself to every other court.
Yep.
So when he like turns, I feel like he nailed that one scene. I think you guys know the scene I'm talking about. He's like on the ground and he like, that part is perfect. I think he nailed it. And I think that scene in Forward, I think people will be like, oh, Tamlin is suffering just as much as everybody else is here.
That whole scene. And so I have to ask, out of 65, when you think back to all the performances, even like you can say the girls, like Nesta, Elaine, Lucian, even the queens, the queen's guards, everyone, Highburn, when you look back and you were like, performance wise, when you were like, oh shoot, like that's a performance, like be a scene, it can be a whole overarching, like were you like, oh wow, like for me, when I think of 65, like for example, like Drew, I'm like, that was a whole performance in itself. Like that's crazy. And I really think people are going to be impressed with that. Or again, I think Stephen Walker, even Wesley in his moment, when he's Lucian, and I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
I know.
But like seeing your costumes and having these like actors wear your costumes and bringing these scenes to life. I guess besides the casting moment, was there ever a moment where you were just like, this is the character, or like this really stood out to you?
If you're talking about me in relationship to my costumes, there is a scene. I'm not going to point out any one specific performance because one, I don't think I could do that. I loved every single one's performance, and every single person blew me away. Like everyone leveled up. And I know you guys have talked about that in the past. Every single actor and actress, I think, leveled up. Even Max leveled up again. Like I thought he leveled up from 54 to 70 immensely, just because at that point I was just a viewer. I wasn't involved yet. And then on 70, I was like, dang, this guy's been doing something, because he's way better than he was in 54, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then from this one, I thought he was even better again. I thought he had more range in 65. Yeah. So, I mean, everyone did so well. But if you're talking from a costume standpoint, a thing that blew me away, it's the 5 on Jurian moment. That when all 5 of you are standing and it's against Jurian, that to me was what I have been dreaming of for a long time, is just seeing the inner circle, like everybody in a matching set, like they came from the same place, they're on the same team, and you all 5 of you just looked incredible and so intimidating. Like I was standing there And like when I was like, could you imagine just a line of Illyrians all dressed like this? They'd be scary.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So looking towards future things, I would like to go down two different rabbit holes, just because I feel like these two scenes, if we ever got to do them, would be like very costume heavy and very much your neck of the woods. So like one, what's up?
Let's do it.
Said, let's do it.
I would love to see if we were to do this is a two-part, so which is, I feel like both of them are going to be very cumbersome because they're just whatever. But anyway, if we were to do a chapter 70 part 2 and said, Collin, you're in charge of costumings for this. We don't care about continuity from like whatever we did before. We're upgrading. We're doing the rest of ACOTAR, the ending. What would that look like for you? And then on the flip side of it, totally different, not in the war zone at all anymore, High Lord's meeting. What would that look like for you?
I want to see Collin's vision for all the different High Lords.
So what can you take us down as best you can?
Out of those
two, because I feel like I just want to know, just for my own curiosity as well.
So, I mean, I would love to do either one. I would be more excited for the High Lords one because I have literally imagined all 7 High Lords for so long. And then when you asked me at the start of this episode, was the Reese I designed for you guys what I've had in my head for Reese? And I answered no, and that's because that is the costume, is the High Lord meeting costume, the Court of Nightmares Reese that he portrays himself.
And I would want
as.
a different
That's
Reese,
what I've
by
had
the
in my
way,
head
for the High Lords.
3 years now.
If we did it, I would want a different one.
Oh yeah, and a different Tamlin. It would be a different Tamlin look too. So,
yeah, like different, not as not the actors,
different
you
costumes.
want, like a different costume.
Yeah, I'm firing Max. I don't like that guy anymore.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah. No, we love Max.
Can you take us briefly through what your visions for the High Lords would be in the High Lords meeting?
So the High Lords meeting is, I would want to, like, it would literally be every single like main person of that. So it'd be, every High Lord and then whoever is their escort at the time or whoever comes with them, because everybody comes kind of different. Like, I think it's just Callias and just Vivian that come from the Winter Court, but then you have Thesson and what's Thesson's mate's name? I can't remember Thesson's mate's name, but he's there. He's a peregrine. We'd have to make another set of wings.
Does he have wings?
It'd be awesome.
Oh my God. But they're feathered wings. Oh my God, they are.
Right?
Yeah, they're feathered wings.
I was reading that and I was like, wait,
Yeah, he's a peregrine. So that one is the one I'm the most excited for out of all High Lords, is Thesson, because I think I picture him so differently than other people picture him. And I've only talked to a couple people that pictured him my way. And the only people that have pictured him for the most part my way are people who have some sort of tie to Native American culture. So that would be, Thesson would be awesome. I would want to really do him justice and really pull in. Tarquin is awesome. Yeah, Tarquin, I literally have thought about all of them. Tarquin would be amazing, and I would pull each one of them. And not only would I make each one of them like pull from different parts of our world, right? Like I always pull from parts of history, but they would also look like they came from it, right? So like Tarquin's look would be sleeveless.
And
right?
he comes
he's
with
in a very hot. He's the summer court. It's going to be a sleeveless look.
Girls. Yeah, the 2 girls.
I think he comes with 2. Yep.
But I wrote them down somewhere.
Yep. So I'd want to have them. So yeah, he'd be he and Helion would be the 2 sleeveless High Lords. Yep, Lady Autumn would be there. That one would be interesting on how we would design that one. Because I will admit, I am not a dressmaker.
No.
I don't want to dip into making dresses because there are already people who do that and can do it fantastically. So if we want to do a dress look, not my forte.
Yeah.
We will find someone else to do that one. But if we want to do a more armored look, it'd be awesome, because I don't think we see enough female armor that's not the unisex option that you can buy from some store. Like, I like making custom female armor that really does
Fun
women
fact,
justice.
Morgan is
I love
wearing
doing that
a
kind of
blue
stuff.
dress in the High Lords meeting, which I just feel like is very different and very fun.
Oh my gosh, I've had an idea for more this whole time, and that would be perfect. I know. I should show you my drawing that I have for more. It's unlike
I
anything
need to see it. I mean,
anyone
obviously.
ever does for more. Yeah, it's really
But
good.
and then Faye is wearing a Starfall dress.
So I would love to do all of them, and I would do their takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Feyre's wearing something like that. So that one would just be super fun because you would see all 7 courts and their cultures in one spot, and it would be so fun to see them all, especially because how I picture the Winter Court is very different than how most people picture the Winter Court, right? I picture them as like these fantasy Vikings to a degree, not so much
Anna.
Elsa
Jack
and
Frost.
No, Jack Frost.
Jack Frost. Yeah. So I would love to do that kind of look for them. Oh, it would be so awesome. And then
I would love to see it.
Baron would be this very tyrannical warlord look. It just would be awesome. So I would love to do that. And then if we were talking about Chapter 70, Part 2, that one, if we did anything, I would give Cassian his helmet because he would need his helmet. Reese would get armor, and then I would also upgrade Azriel's look because I do think Azriel's is.
Would you upgrade it for High Lords as well?
Just because we did that turnaround so fast.
Would you upgrade him in High Lords as well?
For who?
Azriel, no matter what. Like,
oh no,
Azriel. Yeah, no matter what, it would be upgraded again. Because the only reason I say that is because I spent like months on Cassian, right? But because there was such a fast turnaround time for Chapter 65, and I hadn't started. I mean, I had been designing Azriel for months, but I hadn't actually started, so I couldn't put all of the same effort in as I would have liked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love it sitting back here, but
there's more.
In my head, it's not on Cassian's level yet, just because I know as the maker the difference between the two, and probably only I will ever know that. But I know I can give Azriel even more. So he would get upgraded again. And I will say the biggest upgrade I think would be, I have a notebook somewhere in one of my drawers. I designed the Illyrian runes like 2.5 years ago. And I would make him the scabbard that holds Truth Teller with the silver writing that says Truth Teller in Illyrian runes. I designed that like 3 years ago, and I just have never got a chance to show them off.
But you would also be addressing me again, then Taylor, Nesta as well.
Yep.
And Amryn.
So we would take those same ones, and we would.
Yeah, Maury's winter court outfit, which I feel like would be very fun for you.
Yep, I would do her matching. Oh yeah, I would do it matching how I'm currently making my wife a Vivian costume, so I would do it in that style where it's way more like Lagatha from the
Maury
TV show
sick.
Vikings.
Okay.
So I would do that, and then I would be so curious. I would really want to push really hard if we could get just like equivalent male extras to female extras. Because we have so many women that come out,
which
and
I feel
love
like
it.
We had a good dynamic.
We just need a couple more dudes.
But it was also smaller scale. So
I agree. I think we did have,
and we implored a lot of people's husbands. So we just need more people to bring their husbands.
Yes.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm not saying anything against. I mean, I love that we have women there. It's just, I think it just helps because, it just kind of. I mean, you can only take Cassian punching a lady so many times, and you're like, dude, knock it off.
So they're strong. They can take it.
Yeah, they're I mean,
they're
Fae
like
ladies kick
the
butt.
Amazonians from like Wonder Woman. So I'm like,
that. I mean, that's true.
That's my brain. That's where I
do think it. I do think it's the realism.
I mean, if you look at these people,
because there is
good.
Both.
Yeah, I think it would just be better if it was a 50-50. That'd be awesome.
Also,
50-50. Yeah,
Collin, there's High Lords
and then it would be
too. So it would be different.
Yeah, it would be awesome to have like the High Lords if we did cast, let's say like Thesson there, and we had
Eris would be also be in the High Lords.
It'd be awesome to have them in battle gear. Oh man, you guys have no idea. I was talking to Luke about this because Luke loves Eris, and I showed him. I've designed Eris's costume. I've had it designed for 2.5 years, just no one has wanted it yet. So his costume's incredible. So yeah, I have a lot of them already designed. I just need a reason to make them.
But yeah, you would have. You'd have to.
Yeah, I would love to do it, and I would do it armor. Like
really,
we would do it. We'd pull it together, and I would.
Armor for Eris.
Well, if he's at war.
Oh yeah, I mean, no one's going to war and not in armor.
Well, no, I mean like for High Lords.
High Lords,
like
right?
I think. Do you think?
We're sorry. We're
okay.
conflating Chapter
Would you
70
have
Part 2
Eris
and
and-
High
Yeah.
Lords meeting, because Eris is in both.
Oh, yes. I'm talking about Chapter 70, Part 2,
Okay.
the war scene. Anyone in the war scene would be
And
wearing
that's
armor.
the one you've designed?
Because even Reese,
or
the most
you've
powerful High
designed
Lord ever
more of
seen
a
in
High
Prithian,
Lords meeting
wears armor.
Eris? Okay, so you haven't thought
High
about
Lords
the
meeting
armor
Eris is the one I've
versions of
designed.
the Ottoman court yet.
Yet. Okay.
No, actually, I do not have the armor
Yeah.
yet for
Because
that court.
Tamlin's, and it's, I mean, you see
That's
all the High
crazy.
Lords bring Wraith back to life, so they would all have to have a battle armor
Mhm.
of some sort, right?
Oh, it would be awesome.
Would
it would
you
blow
have
everybody away.
Can I tell
would
you
you
Oh,
have
yeah.
how
Drew
I
have any
imagine-
changes, or be same?
Yep.
You would have changes for Drew?
Same.
Okay.
Because what he's wearing in the throne room is just what he like his armor he puts on in his throne room. But if he knew he was going to war,
So you would just
he
add
would be
to it,
even
maybe?
more beefed up. 100%.
Wow.
It'd be added to.
Because Drew, so this is my imagine. Please the world. I need everyone to really want Chapter 70 Part 2 and want to fund it, because just imagine, and I'll pitch it to you here right now. Just imagine the opening scene is a massive, massive battle, correct? Like, so last we hear is Nesta screaming for Cassian. No one else hears her but Cassian. And there's the battle, and you can just see everyone fighting and da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, you would just see the bone carver after, like, Connor is in there doing his thing, unaliving people left and right as the bone carver. You would see Grayson as the weaver, ripping throats out, like just ultimate annihilation. Bryaxis taking people out left and right. Then Illyrians fighting, like, just imagine. And then all of a sudden, you just see, I guess maybe we could flash back to Nesta. I'm not sure, but I just want Connor to slowly turn around and smile, because it says in the book he turns to Feyre and smiles because he knows he's going to die. And that's when the big flash of like white light happens, and that'll totally pull you back into, now you're back to the inner circle and everything else that everyone's going on, and the cauldron just erupted, and then we had this whole moment of, you'll end up seeing Drew gets to unalive Grayson by throwing her off the ledge and going, "You're a beautiful little thing, aren't you?" And then you also see a total cool epic fight sequence between Hybern and Cassian, who actually have hand-to-hand combat. Like, I'm telling you,
Oh, yeah.
this could be really epic. Like,
And Amryn has a huge
Oh, yeah.
piece
It would
of
be
too.
awesome.
And
Yeah, I would
Amryn,
totally
like,
upgrade.
oh my
and we
gosh,
already have a
Jane?
cauldron now.
Who was I talking to about this?
Courtesy
So
to Aubrey?
I can't remember who I was talking to, but Amryn's would probably be the one I'd be the most excited for, because I would give her two looks. She would start out in Illyrian leathers, and then whenever we make her turn into whatever she
Yeah.
turns
The
into
Phoenix
from her
Firebird,
other
yeah.
dimension,
Love it.
I would give her a completely different armor set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, Chapter 70 Part 2, y'all. I need everyone to get on
Yeah.
board, because
We do
I
need.
mean, for both of those,
we do
High Lords
need
or
funding.
Chapter
If
70 Part
people
2
can-
is very, very
Yeah.
heavy on new costumings if you want it to actually
Yeah.
look the way it
Yes.
needs to look. Which these High Lords, they're not coming in wearing Amazon
Yeah.
clothes. They are coming in like, I mean, this is, when do they meet like this?
gonna get-
Like they're dressed in their best.
I will say, though, to give credit, the guards in 65 were wearing
Yeah.
pieces from Amazon, and they did look pretty good.
Those are some. That's
Shout
some
out
of the
to
best,
Dakota, Corey's
like, mass-produced
Dakota.
armor I've seen.
Found those
Yeah.
that on Amazon.
Yeah, those were awesome. I did like those a lot. I thought they did really good. And both of the Queen's Guards I thought did awesome as well. Like,
Yeah.
all the Queen's Guards, but the two that drug
Oh,
out the
yeah.
girls, I thought they did awesome at sourcing armor. Like, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
source it correctly and you're willing to put in some money,
Yeah.
you can get some
But
awesome
I also
pieces.
think those
I'm just saying,
worked out very well for
I
that
think-
scene, because they did not have to look worn or dirty. They're guards. Guards don't typically get into battle.
Yeah.
Guards are just,
Mm-hmm.
they're not,
They're not in the
I
mud.
mean, they're usually more polished.
Yeah.
They're not the warriors. So I feel like they're
Yeah.
the leather, like you've always said, like, it doesn't look worn. It doesn't look like it's been, and I feel like that tracks with guards more. So we get away with it. We can get away with it there. We couldn't get away with it so much in a
Mhm.
war.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think it would be awesome. And I just mean for everyone listening, if you can at all, if you're just a fan of these books, I would definitely say if you're willing to spend, let's say you go to a book ball and you're willing to put in $5 to buy like a fancy bookmark, I think you should throw your money towards these two ladies because all this money, like it doesn't go towards paying me. Like it just offsets the cost of the materials. Like, I mean, to put together an Illyrian costume, just the materials alone range about $500 in materials. Like Illyrians are not cheap, right? So I think like that if you, I'm just talking to the viewers and the listeners, like these ladies are so deserving of, if you love this fandom, they're so deserving of your time and your hard-earned cash, even amongst these hard times. If this is an escape for you, as it is for me, I think if you want to contribute, this is like such a good way to throw a couple dollar dues, you know,
Colin.
just $1 or $2, a cup of coffee.
Thanks,
I
Colin.
think it's totally worth it because you guys, I mean, you're making magic. I mean, everyone is putting their hearts and souls because we all would love if a big company
it
picked it
right.
up and produced this at a Hollywood level scale, did it right. Yes, under that same
Yeah.
thing, we would not want them
Yeah.
to screw it up.
Yeah.
But if they could have, it's just like the money. Could you imagine? I mean, I can only imagine if you guys,
What we
if
needed.
you two ladies
what we
received like
needed.
100K, what you could do,
Yeah.
even what you could do with like 50K.
50K, you got it would
So
be
good.
night and day. It would be night and day because, and all I'm saying is, I always say this, if I ever, I need to start playing the Mega Millions more. If I ever hit the Mega Millions, you can bet your bottom dollar I will, or I will like shoot this whole entire thing, and I'll talk to Sarah. I'll be like, Sarah, look, you and me, like, let's join Whimsy, and we're gonna shoot the whole thing, the whole first season, and then we're gonna sell it to the highest bidder. And guess what? It would be like an Amazon or like an HBO, and you can go. It can be on your streaming service, but you have this much control over what goes into filming. You just get the right to show it because then the people who care about it enough are going to be the ones in control. So I'm just saying, pray I hit the Mega Millions because that's where all the monies will go. Will just be towards bringing ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and
I
Crescent
feel the
City to
same
life.
way.
And then Collin, obviously, you would be our costume designer, and it would just be Whimsy
That would be
Gossip
awesome.
and Fireheart Studios. That's Sarah's company name.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I think that would. Although I do have a question pitched back to. Maybe I'll ask you two ladies a
boy.
question. I know we're running out of time, but I'm assuming if you did it, if you wanted at a TV show, you'd want a season per book. I'm assuming that's probably what we'd
A
want.
little bit more, maybe.
You'd want more than a
Well, I
season
think
per
certain,
book.
like the first book, you can definitely do in one season, and I think you'd want to
Yeah,
leave it on a cliffhanger. That's good.
sure.
I think the second book, like the fourth book, is not a season. The fourth book is like 2 episodes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
So
I agree with you. The novella is
yeah.
not. The novella could be like a one or like literally a one episode
yeah,
thing.
it's tiny.
It's the holiday special.
It really is, and I think that I really think the third book needs to be 2 seasons, and I think the fifth book also needs to be 2 seasons. You need to, I think, really, because I would not. While the fifth book is technically just solely on Nesta and Cassian, I think the other people are like other characters are doing so much. I really wholeheartedly think I would shoot everything from like a third person point of view, kind of like how our films are. They're not technically, the third book is through Feyre's point of view, but Val and I have always said we wanted to not just focus on just Feyre's point of view. We wanted to have different characters highlighted in different things and be able to go deeper into stories, and which is why in 65 you'll see the flashbacks you see is because
Which you wouldn't expect
you're not
that. I feel like
just
people aren't going to
focused in
expect.
Feyre's brain.
That's not something that you would think that would be highlighted.
Yeah, I don't want to
those
like
characters.
No. So we want to kind of go deeper. So I think Glass, and then like the first season of Throne of Glass, because we know these worlds are all going to collide and going to come together at one point. So you need to make sure people don't age out of their roles, because Game of Thrones was like 10 years, and this is going to be a very equivalent to Game of Thrones. So once you get to like the first season of ACOTAR, you need to like off season of ACOTAR season 1, you would be able to like, guess what, next week, like the final episode of season 1 of ACOTAR ended, like Throne of Glass is starting next week, so you don't even have to worry. And then guess what? After that, you have season 2 of ACOTAR or a little pause or something like that. And then it wouldn't be until like the 3rd book of Throne of Glass and like second, thirdish book of ACOTAR is when you would even want to start introducing Crescent City into the mix. So then by the time you're into Crescent City Part 3, you have the ability of all the ACOTAR characters, spoiler alert real quick, to like converge into there. And then with Twilight of the Gods coming out where she says all 3 books converge, you just want to make sure you have that ability for continuity with age and all that kind of
What
stuff.
are they gonna
so
do?
Really, it's a whole mass.
Ruin it all. Or do
Not
none of
that.
it.
They're not going to do that,
Yeah.
but this is why I will preach it to anyone who wants to listen, because maybe one day Sarah will just take the idea and run with it. But like,
Yeah.
you got to film them.
Yeah.
She would make millions of dollars.
She would make
These
dumb
people
money
who are
on this.
buying the
because
rights and
each
sitting
book
on
is a
it, I
different
don't
genre.
understand how you could sit on this gold mine. Like literally, super famous celebrities are even ACOTAR's reaching them. ACOTAR is reaching all over the place. Like, why are you sleeping on this? But on that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why. Oh, I agree. That's why. I mean, that's I was just saying, and I've had this in the, you guys who are when you interviewed me for chapter 70. That's why I said like when I made this costume, I didn't make it just for the competition. I literally had in my head, I was like, if Sarah sees this, I want her to be like,
Yeah.
I want something like that on my show. Like that's what I had in my mind the whole time I was making it. So
Sarah, you have the people. I will be your bully dog. I don't know. I always say I
Person
want to
with the
be the
form
person with the
stone,
sword in the
yeah.
writing room, not a real one, a foam sword, so it's not going to injure anyone. But like
story
when
integrity.
someone in the writing room or when someone wants to go and pitch a dumb idea, I just cut it off there. Anyway, we're not going to do that. So, and I can be the mean one.
Yeah.
So Sarah's dreams and these books can be done appropriately, and then Valerie can be our dreamer. And she would be the one. I'm just going to be the mean guy in the room who's like, no, because I'm hyper protective over these characters. And then Valerie will be the one who probably I would love to produce. I would love to see our brains produce with Sarah.
I think
that'd be really fun. And I would Collin, I would 1000% put you as head of
100%.
costuming
Because you
So,
care.
If you want my opinion, I do not think I do care. I mean, that's why I think ACOTAR should be done how Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They made all 3 movies basically at the same time. They weren't waiting for one to come out to start the other, which you did mention. And then at the same time, I mean, everyone loved it. They didn't make this with like a huge budget. They made it on a short budget. They put all the passion in as they could, and it shows. That's why those movies are 3 lightnings in a bottle. So I think that's how it needs to be done. And I think what some writers would do if they didn't love this, because they know how popular Reese and the Bad Boys are, they'd be so tempted to put Cassian and Azrael in that first season and totally switch up the time. Like they would mix books 1 and 2 somehow and ruin it. That's how I think it could be ruined.
because I don't. Yeah, because
Now I'm
then you're going to
terrified.
realize Reese. So they did this with the Mortal Instruments series, the movie, not the TV series. One of the biggest spoilers, and spoiler alert to everyone, is Jace and Clary, the 2 main characters. It's like a Luke and Leia situation. They're in love, and then they're like, you get this. When you read the books, you get this massive bomb dropped on you at the very end of the first book, like that they're siblings, and you're like I remember back in the day as a Mortal Instruments fan, you were sitting here like, well, do I ship incest then? Because I really like them together. And then it takes like 3 books to realize you're like, oh, they're not related. Oh, thank the Lord, because heartbreak. Then they can be together. And this whole time it was like this, like, oh, there's this one.
Yeah,
I can't. I'll go into a whole tangent. Anyway, the Sealy Court scene.
Oh yeah.
But and I think what they did in that is with the movie. All the people that had to wait and pine to realize, oh my gosh, they're not siblings. In the movie, they went and introduced that whole concept of them actually not being siblings right off the bat, and that's how it ended. And I was like, well, that just ruined it. That totally just ruined it. Where I think, again, hiding the gold mines, I think would be great, because I want people.
You got to delay that gratification. I think the only way it could be done is maybe at the very end of season 1, it's Feyre leaves with Tamlin, and instead of the last scene being Tamlin and Feyre being happy, the last scene instead would be Reese winnowing back to the Night Court finally.
She's my mate.
Yeah, that like the very like beginning of book 2, just like the last scene, and then you don't even have to say
I
anything.
think that they would
it could
do
be.
that.
You don't. I don't think you even have to say anything. I think he just winnows in. I think he winnows into the
I'm
inner
so sad
circle.
we didn't do that
with
scene.
He's there with
in
Moore.
the
He's
cabin
holding
or whatever.
Moore is holding him like.
Yeah, he would embrace Moore and be crying. Amrun would be there in shock, and then you would see Az and
You
Cassian
have to end it that
drop
way.
out of
You
the
have
sky,
to
and
do
it would just
that.
be like
You have to do that.
lights. Then it would give
Yes,
the people a
yes,
taste of what they want, but not knowing what it is.
Colin. This is why we all need
But
to
it
work
is.
on the
You don't
show.
need to introduce
This
them
is why we
any
all need to
earlier.
work on the
Literally,
show.
the last like 2 minutes.
Sarah J. Maas,
And also, I am
please,
so sad that for
please
54 we
trust
didn't do
us.
that scene with him crying and me holding him. Like, I will forever regret that because I want to do that scene with Max so badly.
Yeah.
But on that note, we do have to wrap
thought
up.
about it too
It's
late.
getting pretty late. But this is our
Okay.
longest episode of the season, and it makes total sense because I could literally talk
We could just
forever.
talk to
I feel like
Colin
there's
forever.
so much more we could say.
I'm
So
long-winded.
we're just gonna have to do a part 2. We're just gonna have to keep going, obviously, and have you
Yeah.
back on eventually when
Oh yeah.
ever freaking Taylor has this baby and we come back because I'm sure we'll have a long break. But anyway,
Totally worth
Totally
it.
worth
Colin,
it.
we
Films
love
are
you
awesome.
so
Thanks,
much.
Colin.
Thank you literally so much from the bottom of our hearts from like believing in us and like these projects and like showing up with your giant trunk and your positive can-do attitude
And your giant
and,
heart.
yeah, your selflessness and just like everything about you. You're just such a lovely person. You're so talented, but then you're also just such a great person. And also like, we love your wife and your mom and like it's just all everything about.
Yeah. Shout out to Michelle and
amazing.
Necromom.
So
Big
we
shout
just,
out
we
to
just love
them.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Tell her
Well,
we
no,
love
I
her.
appreciate you two for even letting me work on it. Oh, I will 100% tell her. I'll just wait for her to watch the video.
Aw. Well, we love you, Michelle, if you're
But,
watching.
But yeah, I just can't extend enough gratitude towards you both for even allowing me and trusting me with, because that's a big deal to trust me with pretty much the visuals of your show. So I'm just so grateful that you even allowed me to even try and bring across my work, because I wasn't sure how people would take a lot of my stuff at first, because it is so different in the fan art. Like I thought people would not like the metal in the armor. Like that's not how it's said in the books.
You continue
So
to blow us away.
I'm just so grateful that you allowed
Yeah.
me to do it. So
Well, it's going to be on
Thank you both.
IMDb. I mean, I think Sven's putting 70 on there and then also 65. So it's going to be officially on IMDb.
that'll be so
you're going to
cool.
be officially titled on there. So, woo!
Yay!
Yay!
Well,
Colin,
Colin, it's
okay.
it's
Well,
a pleasure. We love you, and we can't wait to.
we love you so much.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Yeah, I love
We
you
cannot
both.
wait for everyone
definitely
to
talk for hours.
see Collin the Necromaker's costumes on Chapter 65, which is coming out this fall. And we can't wait to.
And make sure,
Oh,
where
yeah,
can
what do
everyone
you have
follow
going
you
on? Where
on
can
social
people
media?
find
What is
you?
your...
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram or TikTok with @the Necromaker. And then you can also go to my website, collinthenecromaker.com, if you want to communicate with me through there.
We'll put all the links.
Other than that, projects I'm working on, I'm just building up inventory currently, because I want to help people, because not only do I want to help with fan films, but D&D is a huge part of our community, and I know a lot of people just are looking for certain pieces for their characters. So I'm just making pieces and basically being the D&D shop character, where it's like,
I love it.
hello, how can I help you today? So they can just come to me and be like, hey, I've been always wanting something like this to make my character unique, right? Because that's what I think. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, most people don't know this. I don't replicate anything. Not any of my pieces are ever replicated, unless the caveat is you're part of an army. Then, of
Right.
course, I want you to look like your brother or sister standing next to you in the line.
Colin, hear
But
me out.
other than that, every piece is unique.
You should totally make a character when you do your commissions, like create a costume for yourself where you are the D&D costumer, and just create this whole character and be like, so and so came to me and this, and like kind of give him some quirks, put a little bit Colin in yourself, and like when you make your videos, you could just
That's
make
hilarious.
a side
I
skit.
love that. That
I
would.
think that'd be hilarious.
Dude,
I
that
could
would
do
be
that.
So funny.
Yeah, like
That would be so funny.
I could do that. I mean, this has kind of been the
Yeah.
outfit I've been wearing
That's your
forever. So
signature outfit,
I mean,
so. All right. On that note, I got to go to
Anyway,
bed.
okay.
I
All
love
right.
you, Taylor. Colin, I love you.
same.
Yep.
And yeah,
Love you.
guys,
Love
we'll
you, Val.
catch
Love
you
you,
next
Colin.
week for another
Have a
episode
good
of
night,
Whimsy
guys.
Gossip. Bye,
Love you guys.